Harper Audio presents American on Purpose, The Improbable Adventures of an Unlikely Patriot. Written and read by Craig Ferguson. Copyright 2009 by Craig Ferguson. Production copyright 2009 by HarperCollins Publishers. Preface. One of the greatest moments in American sports history was provided by Bobby Thompson, the Staten Island Scot. Born in my hometown of Glasgow, Scotland in 1923, he hit the shot heard round the world that won the Giants the National League pennant in 1951. Had Bobby stayed in Glasgow, he would never have played baseball. He would never have faced the fearsome Brooklyn Dodgers pitcher Ralph Branca in that championship game, and he would never have learned that if you can hit the ball 3 times out of 10, you'll make it to the Hall of Fame. Today I watch my son at Little League games, his freckled Scottish face squinting in the California sunshine, the bat held high on his shoulder waiting for his moment, and I rejoice that he loves this most American game. He will know from an early age that failure is not disgrace. It's just a pitch that you missed, and you better get ready for the next one. The next one might be the shot heard round the world. My son and I are Americans. We prepare for glory by failing until we don't. I wish I'd known all this earlier. It would have saved me a lot of trouble. In order to write this book, I reached into the darkness for my past and found to my surprise that most of it was still there, just as I had left it. Some of it, though, had grown and morphed into what now appears to be hideous and reprehensible selfishness. Some of it had crumbled into the ruins of former shame. This is not journalism. This is just my story. There are bound to be some lies here, but I've been telling them so long they've become truth, my truth, as close as I can get to what really happened. I left some tales out because to tell them would be excessively cruel to people who probably don't deserve it, and I altered a few names for the same reason, but I believe I spared myself no blushes. I didn't flee a dictator or swim an ocean to be an American like some do. I just thought long and hard about it. I looked at the evidence of my life and gratefully signed up. American on Purpose. Chapter 1. A Seat at the Table. I see England, I see France, I see the First Lady's underpants. Shut up, hissed Megan. I wish I'd never pointed it out. She was giggling so hard her wine squirted out of her nose, and anyway it was true. Laura Bush, the congenial Texan wife of George, the 43rd and arguably least popular president in the history of the United States of America, had just entered the room, her affable spouse by her side. They were graciously acknowledging the fawning Washington toadies who milled around them, smiling and shaking hands and kissing cheeks. Mrs. Bush was wearing an elegant silky frock, but when she stood with the light behind her, you could see her undies. Big, comfortable knickers. What are known in enlightened circles as passion killers, in what looked like a floral pattern. Ideal for a long night of smiling and nodding and being a good sport at the annual press, showbiz and politics bunfight that is the White House Correspondents' Association dinner. I was there in my capacity as a vulgar lounge entertainer. Megan, my date, was there because she loves me and was proving it, again. I had been asked to be the guest speaker by the chair of the entertainment committee. I wasn't their first choice, but after Steve Carell and Ellen DeGeneres turned the gig down, I think I became a little more appealing. I might be a C-lister, but I was obtainable, willing, and cheap. I understand why Ellen and Steve said no, since this is, without doubt, one of the most intimidating and difficult jobs available to a comedian. And there were other reasons why I too should have politely declined. First of all, there was the event's recent history. 2 years before, Stephen Colbert had performed there and, depending on who you talk to, had either died the worst death ever seen by a comic in the history of comedy and death, or had delivered the most fearless piece of political satire this country has ever seen. The year after, in an attempt to avoid any repetition of the controversy, the WHCA had hired the antediluvian Canadian impressionist Rich Little, who most recently achieved fame in the 1970s with his Richard Nixon impersonation, to be the after-dinner speaker. Little had definitely bombed, no debate needed. in a buttock-clenchingly awkward manner. His material was too...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?